Are the holidays leaving you overwhelmed and exhausted instead of joyful? When I posted my video, 10 holiday traditions I quit, many of you shared with me how you're reevaluating how you do the holidays. Because let's be honest, some of that extra stress comes from trying to please everyone else. Today, I'm joined by my friend Heidi, who is a board certified hypnotist and mindset coach for midlife women. She has a surprising perspective that being selfish, yeah, you heard me right, might be the key to enjoying the holidays more. Heidi specializes in helping women break free from people pleasing, perfectionism, and burnout. She's also the host of the popular podcast Mastering Midlife with Heidi. She has a passion for helping women live life on their own terms. So as I bring her up, I want you to think about if the holidays are leaving you feeling stuck in stress, this conversation is exactly what you need. Welcome, Heidi. I'm so glad you're here. Heidi and I got to meet this is Virginia Kerr's video school, and we got to meet in person last week in real life. So we're especially excited to be able to join together in this video live stream.
Yes, this is awesome. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Excited.
So Heidi, first off, I want to ask you, I know you're the people-pleasing expert. How does people-pleasing actually cause extra stress, especially at the holidays?
Oh, so many ways, right? The core of people-pleasing behavior is not wanting someone else to be disappointed. That was my biggest hurdle to overcome with people pleasing is I was constantly morphing myself into being what I thought someone else wanted me to be or needed me to be in order to not disappoint them or to not upset them or for them to accept me, right? And to like me. So I was constantly shifting and morphing and being a chameleon to become what I thought, right? And it was all my perception. No one ever told me that I had to be that way, but it became such a habit. And I think at the holidays, we tend to do that even more, right? We don't want to say no to the party because we don't want to hurt their feelings, or we don't want to say no to that extra dessert that someone's pushing on us, right?
Oh, yes.
Because I don't want them to be disappointed or to be upset that I didn't try their dessert.
Yes, exactly.
And so there's so much extra stress that we put on ourselves as people pleasers during the holidays because there's so much extra that we're invited to, or that so many extra what we think are expectations of us.
Yes, and as a mom of 3 adult daughters, I noticed feeling that pressure that I had to do all the things the same way because I didn't want them to be disappointed. But then I asked them, "What's important to you?" And all the things I was doing, there were some on the list, but some they didn't care about either. So sometimes we're people pleasing and we think we're doing all the things we're supposed to, and not everyone really expects that of us.
Right. Well, and that is because that's how we were trained, right?
Oh.
That's how we were taught. And I don't believe that most of our caregivers did that maliciously or with any intent, right? It's just the way that generation was taught was, the woman was to be the nurturer and the caregiver, and she was the one to take care of everyone. And, how many times were you told to be a good girl?
Oh.
I have a note from my mom that she left on my desk at school at like a parent-teacher conference, right? And the kids had to leave notes for their parents on the desk. And my mom wrote a note back to me that said, "Be a good girl." That's what she said on the note back that I got, the next day when I got to school and got to my desk.
I
So
think we all heard that a lot. Be the good
right,
girl, you know, don't cause conflict, and also holidays, at least in my family, the women were the ones in the kitchen cooking and cleaning up and just making sure everybody had what they needed. So it was a
serving.
subliminal message that that's the way we were supposed to always do it.
Right. And we got the message that that was the way that we served people, was to
Mhm.
please them. And we truly, I don't believe we can truly serve from a full cup when we're trying to please them, when we're trying to avoid disappointing or upsetting. We're never allowing them to see who we really are.
Mhm.
Right? So they're never getting to know the authentic me. And that is stressful to wear those different masks. I had tons of groups of friends, and people commented as an adult, how many, you do so many things and you have so many friends. And I realized in the last 5 to 10 years that that's because I was morphing myself to fit into those groups, to be liked and to be accepted. And it is so stressful to try and figure out, okay, which mask am I supposed to be wearing today?
Yeah.
Right?
The light bulb moment came for me when I heard so many people say, I just don't know how you do it all. And I stopped to think and I'm like, I don't either. Why am I doing all this? And I just kept hearing that over and over. And it made me take a step back. And it's like, no one else is doing all this. Why am I?
Because we think that we need to, right?
Yes. Yes.
And going back to, how we were raised, how many times were you told, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all?
Oh, for sure.
And so that also taught us to not speak up, to not ask for what we need, because that would be needy. And it's such I don't know, I've heard lately that people pleasing really is almost like an epidemic, right?
Mm,
In the Gen X and the baby boomer
yeah,
um,
I can see that.
generations. Yeah, that for women, it was just,
So on the flip side, we were also told that being selfish was bad. But when is it okay to be a little selfish?
I say, well, first, we need to redefine selfish, right? We were told that anytime we thought of ourselves first or at all, right? We got the message that you weren't to think about yourself at all. You weren't to brag about your accomplishments. Don't make them feel bad. That would be selfish. And so we need to redefine what selfish really is. And if you look it up, selfish means putting myself first at the detriment of other people. And that's not what people pleasers are doing, right? If anything, we're being selfless. And if you consider what selfless, I talked about this in one of my YouTube videos. If you think about other words that end in less, like blameless or shameless or I can't think of another one at the moment, but blameless means without blame, right? Shameless means has no shame. If you apply that to selfless, that means has no self,
Oh,
without self. And that means I don't really exist then, right? If I don't have a self, then who am I?
oh, that's powerful. I know kind of at this midlife season, a lot of us kind of come to it's like, who am I without being the mom, without being the career? And we're trying to figure out who we are. So we have to be a little, I guess, selfish to rediscover who we are.
Right, exactly. And I say if you think you're being selfish by doing something for yourself, I say then be selfish, right? If that's we can stick with the thought about the definition of the word if we want, but go for it. Be selfish, because if we can't think of ourselves at all or put ourselves first, we will never be able to give to others at the level that I believe that we're here to give to others. We are here to serve other people, I believe, but not in a people-pleasing way, not in a way where we're having to sacrifice who we are. And I have heard, like you just said, so many women say to me, I don't even know who I am anymore. And that,
and like when you're on the airplane, it says put your oxygen mask on first so that you can take care of other people. But we forget that we are allowed to have that self-care time and to be able to say no sometimes, because we have that old programming saying that's selfish. We've got to be, taking care of everyone else first.
Yeah. And many times we possibly were called selfish, right? So we got that label. Yes. And our subconscious mind is so powerful. So if we've heard that label many times, like being called shy or whatever things we were called when we were young or as an adult, we can take them on and think that that's really who I am. So really examining all of that kind of stuff to see, like, is that really true? Is that really true?
Yes.
That if I take a bath, I love to take baths, right? And relax in the bathtub.
Oh, yes.
And I had my ex-husband called me selfish for taking time for myself. And I ended up having to lock myself in my bathroom in order to get alone time. And again, it can become when we start listening to what other people label us as, it can start to become very demeaning and very
it becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy because we just allow that label to live in our head.
Exactly. Yeah.
And one of the things too about kind of getting this selfish time to ourselves, as a mom of 3 daughters, I started thinking about, do I want them to be able to take care of themselves and so that then they can take care of everyone else? And I had to show them that was a good thing to do, that self-care. And like I talk about a lot, the taking care of your health with, scheduling the exercise. You deserve good, healthy foods and that downtime. If I don't show that, then I'm just setting that generation up to be in the background and not have their voice heard as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think your and my generation, we need to be the cycle breakers, right? Yeah. But we have to start with ourselves first and set the example for the younger generation, for the women to know that it's okay. In fact, it's your responsibility to take care of yourself. It's not other people's responsibility to take care of you. And that's kind of what, as a people pleaser, we almost end up asking them to do, is to make me feel better about who I am, right? By accepting me. But I'm not even allowing them to accept the real me because I'm morphing myself and being somebody different.
So what does that look like in the holidays to take time for yourself, to take a step back from this people pleasing?
I think one of the main things we already talked about is the selfish part, right? Is to examine what you're allowing yourself to live into, right? Is this a label that you're just living into in order to be accepted and liked? So to actually ask yourself, sit down and ask yourself, am I doing these things because I'm trying to please someone? Or is this something that I truly want to do? Start learning how to say no more. And I know that sounds really cliche, right? Say no, set boundaries. But I have a guide, actually a free guide, if anybody wants it, that is called 20 Ways to Say No Without Feeling Selfish or Guilty.
Oh, yeah.
And it is, if we learn ways to rephrase our no, like saying, thanks for the invite, but I'm not able to attend, right? Softening, it's not coming out and saying an outright no, which
Right.
our brain views, because that no or that yes is so normalized. We're such auto yesers. We just automatically say yes.
Yes.
Because we think if we're asked, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
If we think we're asked, then we have to say yes, that we're obligated to say yes, because, oh, they wouldn't have asked me if they didn't think I could, or we think that we're going to let someone down by saying no, or that
And I have to practice. I had to practice how to say no because I knew that was going to come up. And just having those different scenarios, because like I am kind of an extroverted introvert, which means I love to be around people, but I need quiet time, as my family calls turtle time. And so I know I have to say no to some things, or by the time Christmas gets here, I am just going to be exhausted and not really enjoy everything like I want to.
Right. And then the 26th or 27th or January 1st comes and you're like, I didn't even enjoy. I want a redo,
yeah.
right? I want a redo.
Yeah.
And that's a really defeating feeling, right? To
Yes.
get past the holidays and think, oh, geez, I want a do-over because that kind of sucked, you know?
Right.
So yeah, just learning, even I tell people to practice looking at yourself in the mirror and practice saying, thanks for the invite, but I can't this time. Or, just different ways to say no.
Yeah. And once you practice it and you do it a couple times, it does start to get easier. And then you start to realize that they are fine accepting the no from you.
We're the ones, right? We're the ones making
that builds up all that guilt and pressure. But the person asking genuine just is inviting you, because it's always good to be invited and it's okay to say no sometimes.
Exactly. Another thing that I think people can do is to check in with their body. And are you starting to feel like anxious about attending this event that you said, or going, being on this committee that you said yes to, or, baking that extra set of cookies? How are you feeling in your body? And then asking yourself also, because so many times people pleasers are worried about what the other person thinks, right? Shifting that question to, what do I think about this?
Yes.
Do I like this plan? Is this going to, how am I going to feel after this? Or a mistake that we make is asking ourselves, do they like me?
Oh, yeah.
And what do I, if my subliminal message back is, well, maybe not, then I morph myself and I do all these people pleasing behaviors to turn the answer into a yes, instead of saying, wait, do I like them? Is this somebody that I really want to spend time with? Because people pleasers are notorious for spending time with and tolerating people that they don't really like hanging out with, because maybe they feel obligated. Maybe it's family. Family is a big thing, especially around the holidays, right?
Yes.
Do I like being around Uncle George, who keeps asking me all these personal questions and all this crap that that makes me really uncomfortable?
Yeah. And practicing a strategy, because maybe you can't avoid obviously being around some of those difficult family members, but just limiting how your conversation goes and making sure that, just no contact is better than getting into a giant brawl, but you don't have to bend over backwards to make them feel comfortable.
Right.
And one thing I have done after each holiday, I'm getting better at this. I put a little note in my phone to remind myself back in September, in the next September, how I want to do the holidays different. This activity really stressed me out and it wasn't worth it. So I put it in my reminders like, next year, I'm going to do this differently. I've done this with menus, like how can I make this a more simplified, on my terms, holiday?
That's
And
awesome.
asking your kids what's important, and asking your family what's important, what are your top 3 things, so that you're not stressing over doing everything, that maybe some of the things they don't care about.
Right. Exactly.
So with the holidays being so stressful and all this pre-programming, I know you have a 12 days of Stressmas challenge coming up that will help us work through this. So tell us a little bit about that.
So this is 12 days. It starts today. So the first video will go up this afternoon. And it is 12 days of little bite-sized videos where each day I'll be giving a tool or a tip on how people-pleasing behaviors can sneak in and steal our joy and inner peace and add more stress to our lives, add more physical stress, make us gain weight, like make us not be able to sleep as well. Lots of things that we do that we don't even recognize we're doing. And so each day will be just a little bite-sized piece. And today the video is talking about how to actually feel what stress feels like in your body. I take you through a 30-second exercise and then what it feels like to feel relaxed, because we've normalized stress so much, right? We just think busy is the way to be. And if I'm not busy and stressed, then something's
I'm
wrong.
lazy. That's
Exactly.
That's what I hear.
Or selfish, or you're being selfish.
Yes. So I put this link in the description so you can get on her email list that'll remind you about each of the days. And you can find her at Mastering Midlife with Heidi on YouTube. We are kind of collaborating here on YouTube and trying to cheer each other on, because I think we need more of our voices on YouTube, that midlife women that are finding our new normal and learning from our past and becoming stronger.
Right. And figuring out like who we are. What do I want? What do I need? What are my desires? How do I want to live my life on my terms instead of according to everybody else?
Absolutely. So thank you, Heidi, for joining us, and be sure to join her 12 days of Stressmas, because I think that sneaky good girl, people-pleasing voice is in a lot of us, as our generation has been raised that way. So we can break free and not disrupt everyone else's holiday, but make it a little more joyful for ourselves.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thank you.
I love it.